Hello world, this is it finally. I'm somewhere in the space introducing you into the final UI. So first, SUVs are spacey things. And then the first feature that we want to talk about is space usage, and especially the space usage visualization. Sometimes you wonder why the PDF you have to deal with is so big, surprisingly big, and then you have that in other tools too. So that is not a patent that we have on it. So, but we now allow you to, in pdfToolbox, find out where the size actually comes from. So what objects in the PDF file make up for the file size. So let's have a look, and probably will have a lot of things to show to you in this session. So as always, we need a file in pdfToolbox, and now here we have this nice little icon at the bottom. We made it colorful so that you could easily see it. It doesn't say more, then just please click me. And then it shows you what is in this file. And then the length of this table depends on the file that you're dealing with. So here we have many different objects. There are the page content streams, so the streams that actually that describe and specify the objects that you're seeing. There are form X objects. That are just references to other content streams. And I should say in this context, the size of these form X objects is just the overhead of the form X object. So if you really are interested in details, you should know that the page content streams would also include the content streams of the form X objects. And the group X objects are a similar thing to form X objects, but they have transparency and they can specify a color space. So probably we will have an ICC-based color space in this group X object that explains, or that would be an explanation for the size. And the rest is, you have extended graphic states where overprinting and such things are defined. You have color spaces, ICC-based probably in this case, patterns, shadings, images, fonts, soft masks, annotations are in this file, and so forth. So, and everything else that doesn't fit into any of the other categories is document overhead. And here you have 3 checkboxes. So a few of these objects can easily be removed. So if you wonder why the file is so big and you want to make it smaller, you could just say, I'm not interested in object level metadata at all, and I'm neither interested in private data of other applications. So other applications, InDesign, Illustrator, also pdfToolbox here and there, introduce their own private data that only these applications can understand. And if you say this is going to print anyway, I don't need any private data, you could safely remove it. And then if you click OK, in this case, if you wouldn't click cancel, it would ask you where to save the result, because of course it will change it. And then we say result, and then it has saved it. And if we now click on it again, the private data and the object level metadata is gone. We still have the annotations. And then you can leave that dialog clicking the escape button, which is convenient and is as it should be. One more thing in this context. So how does pdfToolbox 16 remove these objects? You actually also have direct access to that in automation. So obviously in this episode we will more talk about UI things. So many of them, or few of them at least, don't have to do with automation, which is rare for pdfToolbox features. but many features, even in the UI, are used to create better automation profiles. So, and that maybe is one, so you could use this in kind of an automated way using a new fixup, which is called remove data. And that allows you to specify the category that you want to remove. Here we see private data, but there are also other data categories like form fields, XFA forms, multimedia, annotations, object level metadata. I'm not sure whether that is in the product. It should say object level metadata, structure information, embedded files, and private data of other applications. And what is nice for automation, you can say only remove them if they are above a certain limit. In this case, I was using kilobyte, but probably more interesting is that you could also say %. So if that is more than 10% of the PDF file, remove it. That is that.
So I have a question. I hope it's...
Is it loud enough? I can repeat it.
I hope so. So I think you partially answered it with the fact that there is a limit before removing it, but the question was, can I pre-flight on any of these values? So I want to run a pre-flight and then decide that the file is bad if a certain percentage is taken up by images.
I don't think so, actually.
I don't think so either, but it's an interesting question.
Yeah, so the question really is whether we could make a check out of that. That, of course, would be very, very easily possible. The only thing, it would convolute the already long list of check properties a little more. But so I'm not there yet, but if you think, if a few more of you think that would be nice to have, let us know. I mean, it would be real. I mean, from a development point of view, it would be easy.
And this comes from someone who is going to PDF Camp UK, so
okay.
We will probably see it on the list
somewhere.
So
I will probably cancel. No, I'd love to hear that again. Okay, great. Thanks. So next one, exploring layers is fun, and it will be even more fun in the future. So we have introduced two small improvements, I think, to the Layer Explorer, because processing steps is around, layers are important. We always thought so, and processing steps just proves it. One is there is a keyboard shortcut that at least I and many few of you too missed for quite a long time in the Layer Explorer. But you can do in Photoshop when you're dealing with layers. You use the Alt key and then click on a layer, and then it disables all the other layers and you will see only that one. And if you do that again, it will again enable all the other layers. So that is very convenient. And then there also is a new action that is available in the Layer Explorer that says add missing layer. And that basically allows you to, I will show that. Let's just have a look. And we can always do that. So we had that. And this is, so it's not David's computer, it's me. Okay. Okay, here I have my file that I wanted to use here. And now we see the Layer Explorer. I've used Command 7 in order to open it. And then, as I've said, I'm now clicking the Alt key and click on cut lines. And then I only see cut lines. Same with fold marks and same with crease lines. The problem is, or where it's not that convincing maybe, because there are many objects in that PDF file that aren't on a layer. So I could more easily demonstrate this if all of the objects would be on a layer. And of course, I was aware of that, and I can use that request, that wish, to demonstrate this new feature. So this little icon here says add missing layer, and then I can create a layer and I can specify a name, and then I do execute plus. So and now I've added a layer here, design, and then if I use Alt and click on design, I can only see the design objects. I can then only see the crease lines, the fold marks, and the cut lines. Yeah. And by the way, I haven't mentioned that. That is also a requirement of a new version of the processing steps ISO standard. So the new version of the processing steps ISO standard will say that all objects that are not on a processing steps layer need to be on another layer. So everything basically in the processing steps file needs to be on a layer. And that is exactly for this reason. If you want to separate an object, a die line, a cut line, and you would only want to see that cut line, you can't switch the rest of the design elements off if they aren't on a layer. And that is what I wanted to say in this episode. And I think it's now Sarah to take over. It's David, actually.
Okay, so I was having some nice interaction in the chat, but I have to talk now, so I can't. There's two, I was going to say small features, but they're maybe not that small, that I want to talk about. I'm not going to show the first one because I think that will be obvious and you can easily try it, but I am going to show the second one, hopefully, because this is not my computer. So we'll see. First one is about profiles, and so on the summary tab of pdfToolbox 15, there was a button that lets you export a summary of a profile, and then you get a PDF file that has a long list of all the things that are in that profile. And that is useful often, but we got a request to make it a little bit easier to integrate an overview of the checks and fix-ups in the profile in documentation. Let's say that you are doing a project, whether for someone else or for internal use, and you want to document what you have in a profile. How do you do that? Is there a way to do that? And in pdfToolbox 16, that summary page changed a little bit, and you now have a Save Summary button, and that gives you three options to choose from. Profile summary is the one you already know. That is the PDF file that is generated in pdfToolbox 15 as well, so no change there. But then I can also do profile summary as a CSV file, and what I get is this, and I'm showing it here the way Visual Studio Code would show it. So it's a CSV, it's comma separated, and you have a number of columns. You could immediately import that into Excel and it would give you a spreadsheet. You could copy and paste it that way into Word, and then you have documentation and overview of that profile if you want. The columns that are in there are the type, and as you can see, that is either fix-up or check. And then you have the state, so is this particular fix-up or check enabled or disabled, because you can easily enable and disable checks and fix-ups in profiles. And then it can also be variable, as you can see there as well. And what that means is that there is a variable that controls whether that setting is enabled or disabled. Then you have a severity column, which obviously is only filled out for checks, because that is something specific to pre-flight checks. I have the name of the fix-up or check, the description if there is any, and I was lazy in this profile obviously, and I don't have descriptions, but if you have them, they would be in there as well. And then there is a list of variables that are used in that check or in that profile. And on the place QR code line, you can see it says enable place QR code. So that is the variable that controls whether that fix-up is going to be run or not. And the last line then has trim box height and trim box width that control the parameters for the check. But it doesn't stop there. I have a third option, and that third option, let me go back here, is the variable summary as a CSV. So the last one in that pop-up. And that gives me an overview of all the variables that are used in that profile. And so the columns there, the things I can do there are simple variables or script variables. And then I have the key of the variable, the name of the variable, so that's the label, the thing you see in the Ask at Runtime dialog, and then the default value, if there is a default value for that variable. And for script variables, obviously, that is irrelevant. Yeah? So not only can you easily in the documentation get an overview of what checks and fix-ups, but you can also easily get an overview of all of the variables that are used in that profile.
One likes this.
I'm happy.
Yes, and the other one is asking whether this is metadata that could be embedded in the output PDF.
Right
The answer would be it could, yes,
yeah,
but not automatically.
Not automatically, yeah, no. So right now, this is a manual thing that you do, and then it becomes a JSON file, or sorry, a CSV file. And then you could, of course, put that CSV file in an output file if you wanted to. PDFs can be used as containers, so in that sense, that's not that difficult. And you could even do it with pdfToolbox if you wanted to do that, but it's not an automatic feature at the moment. So it would be interesting to know why you would want to do that.
Just typing.
Yeah, I think so. And there are other examples. If you look at Distiller, I think Distiller used to embed the Distiller settings in the PDF. And then Quite Imposing also does that for the imposition settings, I believe.
That's what he's saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, so probably...
So something similar than that.
They should provide a real use case.
Yes, and
so maybe
make a feature request.
Maybe can make it even better than just using this CSV format.
Yes.
So really describe the use case and then...
Because that would then need a setting in the profile, for example, where you say if you run this profile, then always embed this information in the output file. That would be one way of doing it. If you've not done that before, send an email to support @ and then just say, hey, I saw this, I have a feature request, could you do this or that?
He just
and then
revealed he will be at the PDF camp.
Great. Then we put it on the spreadsheet so that we don't forget. Don't think that I'm going to remember, because I'm not. Put it on the spreadsheet, and then we will definitely talk about that. Yeah, maybe last point to mention here, this is really nice. I like it a lot, but it is only for profiles at the moment. For process plans, this is not possible. The main reason it's not possible is someone has to define what that means. Yeah, for profiles, it's quite easy to get a list of checks and fix-ups and then a list of variables that is very well defined. But if you give me a complex process plan, how would something like this, what would it need to, how would it look? I don't know. Is this really what you want for process plan documentation? And then my initial thought would be that no, this is not what you want. What I want is to actually put something in the process plan to explain things. And then we will come back to that.
So the second thing, and this I am going to show because it is so much nicer than, I'm probably going to ruin the setup for everyone, but that's what I do. Oh, now I need to figure out what I'm doing here. So I need this. I need a file. As you can tell, this is not my computer. And this one. Now I also have problems with dragging. Once it doesn't work, it really doesn't work. Let me hide this. Let's see whether that makes the situation any better. No. What's going on with this thing? Come on. Yeah, yeah, we go. That was very, very, very difficult. The next bit is not going to be so difficult, probably, I hope. So I have this file, yeah, and this for some of you I think will be a use case that is easy to understand. Someone sends me this file. If you look at the bottom of the screen, you will see that it is, what is it, 50 by 50 or something, so millimeter. And then the question is, yeah, so first of all, I don't like the setting in centimeter. I like it more in millimeter. But then the question is this the correct size? And maybe I know that it should be something else. And how do I change the trim box for a file that is not correct? And of course, the main goal is that you would automate all of this, and that I would create a process plan that says, yeah, look at crop marks, and if they are there, then set the trim box based on the crop marks, and then set the bleed box based on the trim box. And you can make very complex process plans for that. Believe me, I have done that a number of times. And there is always a certain percentage of files that defies the whole process plan and that you can't fix automatically. And then the question is, what do you do with that? Well, let me show you one thing you can do with that. So when I go here, I now have an option that says edit page boxes. If I would go to the tools menu, I have the same option, but it's quite convenient to use it here. And then I can click that and I get this window. And in that window, I have, for example, this is the size of the well, I can say capture, so capture, there we go. And then now this is the size of the trim box I have in the document, and now I can decide whether this is correct or not correct. And I could maybe say, no, I know that, I have to be careful now because now I have the different keyboard layout. So I could say, no, I know that the order was for a 30 by 30 millimeter job. And so I can change with the keyboard what I know the trim box is. And then once I have the trim box correct, I can say, oh, but I know that in our production, I always have 3 millimeter of bleed. And so that is okay. And then I have 7 millimeter of gutter. Maybe that's a lot. Maybe I just want a little bit more. So 2 millimeter. And what I can see on the document is, well, how that will look if I apply this. So I now have a 30 by 30 trim box, and then 3 mil out to the bleed box and 2 mil out to the gutter. The nice thing is I can just move this by hand, because the files where this goes wrong is typically the files that you can't fix automatically, and that may be because the content is much smaller than the actual file, and you have to manually put the correct trim box on the right spot of this file and then apply it. So I can do that. I can also change with the mouse. So I could say, oh, let me fix my mistake again, and then maybe just put this here, and then we have, oh, I'm moving it now. I'm not doing very well with this computer, I'm sorry. So let's do it this way, and then when I grab the top thingy here, I can align it here as well. And I can switch between mouse thingies and typing numbers when I know that the numbers are correct. And when they are correct, I can say apply to page. And then pdfToolbox applies it to the document, only to the current page now. So if I go to page 2, you will see that this is still the old layout. And of course, I can then also say apply to document, and now it has applied it to all pages. So the purpose here was to make something that is quite simple. If you know what the width and height of the trim box is that you want to apply, this lets you apply that together with a bleed setting and with additional white space around the bleed if you need that, and then you apply that to pages or to the whole document. Okay? Question?
There is one question, whether it's possible to change the trim box proportionally.
I don't think that is, actually. I don't think there is it's a good point.
If you move that one, isn't that proportionally always?
No.
Oh, no, it's not.
And I don't think there is, but it's actually a good point, but there is no modifier key. So that is something, that's a good feature request, actually. I would like that too. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that is already accepted. You don't
Yeah.
even have to come to the PDF cam.
Yeah, no, probably not. So
It's full anyway.
it's full, yeah. So yeah, that's a good point. Yes.
Compatible to. Oh. There is a question whether you could save the settings to a file. So maybe create a KFPX.
Yep,
or
we had that idea. It has not been implemented, but that was something that we discussed at some point, and I could see why that would be helpful. Then you could define standard formats and then apply them afterwards. So that is something that we can think about. Yeah, I like this feature. It's one of the features that I advocated for quite a bit. We also, in this implementation, know that there are many more things that you could do. For example, one of the things that you cannot do with this is edit an individual page box. So I can't say, now give me the bleed box and I only want to change the bleed box and nothing else. That's a little bit more difficult with this. But then the thought was also that if we want to cover as many of the use cases as possible, and we want to keep it simple, because the problem is if you look at other implementations of page box editing, they are always horrible, at least that's what I think. If you want to keep it simple, how do you do that? And I can promise you that there was a lot of discussion about this one to get it to this point. So if you have ideas of something for which this doesn't work, then we're quite interested in hearing about it. And by the way, everything that I've done so far is on a temporary document. So if I now do cancel, then my document is not changed at all. Yeah, and it will ask me, but it now didn't change the document. So these changes are always on a temporary document, and it's only when you say, okay, apply, then they are applied to the actual PDF document. And I think that, so that doesn't work either. Great. So I think I then have, yes. So then I have some slides that are similar to what was there already, and then I'm done. So Sarah, up to you.
Yeah, so also a new feature in pdfToolbox Desktop is an easier way to specify a custom area. So as you probably know, in pdfToolbox there are some there are some checks and fixups where you can or have to specify a custom area. For example, if you want to place a barcode at a specific position on the page, or if you want to search text at a custom area, and so on. And to do that, there are two options in pdfToolbox. The first one is to specify offsets to the box edges, so you can specify what page geometry box you want to have as a basis, and then you can set offsets for all the 4 edges. Or you can set an offset and also specify a width and height for the custom area. And sometimes if you really need an exact position on the page, it is sometimes hard to figure out what the exact coordinates are that you have to type in here. So we make your life a little bit easier and added a mouse selection tool to all checks and fix-ups where you can add or specify a custom area. That means for these checks that you can see here, you will have the mouse selection available, and also, of course, for all fix-ups where you can specify a custom area. So yeah, just let me show you in pdfToolbox how you can do it.
Prize for the nicest slides. To Oscar.
Okay, now I have to open my PDF file. Let's see if I'm better at this. There we go. You can see it's my computer. Okay, so I have a test file here and I want to place a QR code here at the left bottom of my PDF page. So let me open my profile and also my fixup. So this is the place barcode fixup, maybe you know it. I want to place a QR code, and here you have all the parameters where you can specify the custom area. But of course we will not set any values here. We use a new feature, the mouse selection. As you can see here, you have now in the fixup a new icon, and if I click that, this will bring up this new window, the mouse selection window, where you get a preview of your PDF file, and here at the right you also have all the parameters that you already have in your fixup settings. So they are the similar ones. And here at the bottom you can see this red rectangle with these anchor points that represents my custom area that I want to specify. If you haven't set any values yet, so if you're creating something from scratch, as I do it here, the rectangle will always have a default size 100 by 100 point, just to make sure it is visible on my preview. And maybe what I also want to show is this green dashed line around my PDF, and this represents the page geometry box where the area is based on. So here you can see I can select the page geometry box where it should be based on, and if I, for example, switch it to the trim box, you can see the dashed line moves slightly inwards to my PDF file, and now it uses the size of my trim box that I have set in my PDF file as a basis. You can also see here this green circle. This represents the origin. So here you can see you have a relative to parameter, and if I set that, for example, to the upper left corner, you can see that also my circle will move to this corner. So the green lines always show you what is the basis or the reference for my custom area. So of course I can now, what is super nice, I can just take my custom area, I can drag it wherever I want. I can adjust the size by just dragging these anchor points, either just the width, just the height, or both of them. And as soon as I adjust it, you can also see that my values here at the right also automatically adjust to the position of my area. If I move my mouse cursor here at the corner, you can also see that it will change. And that means I can also set a rotation for it if you want to. And yeah, so this is a really handy way to specify a custom area in pdfToolbox. And of course, you can also set values here. And if I do that, you can also see that this will be adjusted in my rectangle. So let's say I don't want to have points, I will have millimeters. pdfToolbox will also recalculate all the values here. And let's say I want to have a barcode 45 or 45. And as I said, I want to place it here. And then I say, OK. And you can see as soon as I click OK, all the values will be inserted into the fixup settings and it is ready to go. Maybe one more thing that I want to show you in this context is that the mouse selection is also taking simple variables into account. So for example, I don't have set any offset here, but I have set simple variables for the width and height of my barcode. And if I open now the mouse selection, you can see my rectangle looks different. I don't have any all the anchor points available. And that is because I can change the position of my custom area, because as you can see, there are no simple variables set, so I can just adjust it. But for the width and height, here are my simple variables, and I have no chance to change the size of my custom area, but only the position because of the simple variables. Maybe just to mention it, if you're using script variables in one of these values, the mouse selection will not be supported. Okay, let me remove this one because we already have a fixup that places my barcode. And just to show you that, of course, the same is available for checks. I also have here my find barcode check, and it goes the same. So here I have my mouse selection, and let's say I will always check my PDF files in the lower left corner for a QR code. So I will specify this area here. If I click OK, the values will be inserted. And if I then run this profile in my test mode, you can see that pdfToolbox added the QR code exactly at that position that I specified in the mouse selection. And also here, maybe you don't know that, in test mode you can also show the custom area that is used by a check. And you can see that this is exactly the area that I selected in the check. So yeah, this is a really handy way to specify these custom areas, and I think it's really useful and saves you probably a lot of time and nerves maybe. So the next feature, super small but super handy, so it's definitely worth mentioning here as well. Export multiple libraries. So of course in pdfToolbox you can export libraries, so you can do that either by the hamburger menu when you go to export library, or you go to the manage library, and then here you also have an icon where you can export a library. The downside is that you can only export a single library. That means if you select multiple libraries, what is possible, but you can see now the export library button is disabled. So before pdfToolbox 16, you have to export all the libraries one by one. And this, of course, has changed in pdfToolbox 16. As you can see, you have a multiple selection of libraries, and now the button is not grayed out anymore. That means you can have a multiple export of libraries, so that's really helpful if you want to archive some of your libraries, or if you want to make a backup of all of them. You can do that with just one click, and pdfToolbox will then bring up a Save As dialog where you can specify a folder where you can store all these libraries. Yeah, and that brings us also to our last feature for pdfToolbox 16, also the last feature of this session, and that is annotations within a process plan. So yeah, process plans in pdfToolbox are pretty powerful for creating flexible step-by-step instructions, so you can really specify what you want to do with a PDF file, and you also have a large repository of different steps that you can add to it. So for example, you can do imposition in it, you can also create multiple output files like copies or image previews. So it is really powerful, and maybe that also then comes with a downside. If you want to have complex tasks, you can see a process plan can also get a little bit more complex or messy, depending on your style. And yeah, so maybe you also know it, you have created a process plan, and after a few weeks you have to adjust something, you open it again and think, what was that step for and why did I add that, and what is the task of this one? So we provide you a solution for this problem, and that is the annotations in a process plan. So you can use the annotations to better explain or better document your work or multiple steps in a process plan. You can also provide further informations to that, or you can also visually group steps in a process plan to make it more structured. So let me show you also in pdfToolbox how you can do it and where you can find it. So I will create a process plan first. This is the process plan editor, you probably know that. And let me just add a simple step to it. Check page size. And maybe you already seen it here at the top menu bar. You have two new icons, and the one is an annotation with a plus sign. And as you probably know what is happening, if I click on it, pdfToolbox will add a annotation to my canvas, and I can move it wherever I want. I can also use these anchor points to adjust the size, so you can really set how present it should be. If I have selected it, you can also see that there are 4 parameters for it. So there are also 2 text input fields, so maybe you wonder what's the difference between the text and the comment. And let me just show you. Everything you type into the text input field will immediately also be displayed in my annotation. And in the comment, this is not the case. So we wanted to provide the possibility to show the text in the annotations, but also to provide a possibility to set some additional information that is not immediately visible, but is there if you want to see it. And then what is also maybe important to see, if I drag an annotation over a process plan step, it will always be inserted behind the step, because of course the steps are important and you don't want to hide them. And here you also have 2 options for the color background and for the text color. So you can see it's a color picker, so you can either select some random color that you want, but we also provide you with some default colors that are quite pretty. And this is not just a random color as you maybe see it, it's the same colors that are already used by the process plan steps. So it's a really nice match, and you can use it to highlight different steps. But as I said, of course, you can go as crazy as you want with colors. It depends on you. And of course, here you can set the text color. The default is black and white, but you can also choose whatever you want in there. Okay, if I have selected that, and of course it's not showing because I have only my favorites in here. So this is my new process plan, and what I just want to mention is that just because you added a annotation to a process plan, that doesn't mean that it is now not compliant with an older version. So if I say export to previous, you can see it is compliant to older versions, even if it has annotations in it. But of course, if you import it in an older version, the annotations will not be visible. But you can export it to a previous version. And maybe as the last demo that I want to show you, a nice example how you can use these annotations for a process plan to give it a little bit more structure and to have it a little bit more sorted maybe. So this is a process plan that imposes the cover pages of a PDF file and also saves the inner pages as separate pages. So a little bit more complex task, I would say. And here you can use these annotations to visually group the different tasks and to provide just some information. So for example, you can see that you can, at the start, you will verify the PDF, you will convert it to PDF X4. And here in the comment, if I selected the annotation, you can also see some parameters that are set in my pre-flight check, so I don't have to open these checks to see that. Or here I have a script where I calculate the spine thickness. Here I also have some additional information to provide, for example, to my customer so that he knows what the script is doing. And one more thing that I want to show you, if you want to hide all of these annotations, of course, that's also possible. So therefore we have this second icon here, and if I click it, all annotations are gone. So you can toggle the visibility on and off as you want. Yeah, and that was the last feature for pdfToolbox 16 that we wanted to show you.